The woman in your life who will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easy.
Hello everybody and welcome to Women's Spaces. My name is Elaine Holtz and I'm your host. And as always, I'm really excited about today's show. Not only am I excited, but I'm a little bit nervous also because I'm hitting upon a topic that might just hit a nerve in all of us. I'm going to flash a picture, and this is a picture from Sonoma State University of their what they call the Genocide Memorial or the Holocaust Memorial. Being Jewish and of course being reminded of the Holocaust is always very emotional for me. But I want you to look at this picture. It's very, very interesting. It's kind of a remembrance to all those people who died in genocides and in the Holocaust. And you know, it really gives you a kind of a sad feeling when you go to Sonoma State and you look at this memorial and you have to scratch your head. You have to ask yourself, why in God's name did all these things happen? But anyway, let me flash the picture one more time and let me explain something about it. If you look at it, it looks like a train track. And the train is moving forward, and the idea of the train moving forward is very interesting because what they're trying to do is give you a sense, a feeling of what it was like when they were taking the Jews during World War II to the concentration camps. And of course, they were loaded in trains. And to be honest with you, I went to the Holocaust Museum in New York, and I actually in Washington, D.C., and I actually walked in one of the trains. And I couldn't believe they had 100 people in there. I couldn't even figure out how they got 25 in there. But anyway, I just want you to get this sense. So you're at the memorial and you're looking at this train, at these train tracks, and all of a sudden you get to the end of the track and you can see that little thing on the bottom, and that has a saying that is very interesting, and I'm going to flash the saying on here. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And you know, it was very interesting when I saw that, and I'm going to flash that without the picture. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter to us. And of course, it's a quote by my hero, Dr. Martin Luther King. And it really was very interesting to me when I saw that, because I asked myself a question. I said, how am I silent? How can I be doing more in this world to help bring about peace? You know, I talk about the children. I talk about, is it good for the children? And I ask myself, what am I really doing? By the way, for my viewers, this is going to be our 200th show. And I was thinking to myself, what am I doing? I'm on television every week. You know, what kind of statement am I really making? And at the same time, I was listening to the radio, and what was so interesting is I heard an announcement. A woman by the name of Barbara Lubin, who has the Middle East Children's Alliance, was bringing in an art show of the children of Gaza. And I thought, oh, how interesting, an art show of the children of Gaza. And I thought, hey, I'd like to go down and see that art show. Well, what ended up happening the next day I heard is that there was a whole constituent that was stopping that art show, and they decided that they were not going to do it. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, what are they stopping here? And I hope you remember my last show. My last show was a commentary when I talked about what were they stopping. They were stopping this art show coming over from Gaza. And it's real interesting because there's a woman by the name of Sherry Borkin that is also a producer here at the Community Media Center, and she brought out the fact that what was happening is that they were going into Gaza and having them do art for the children as a form of therapy. Because what happens in these war zones, these young children become so traumatized that they can't even think anymore. And I mean, you know, we in the United States, we have that famous saying, you know, children learn what they live. Well, it's really interesting when you think, what are they learning if they're in a war zone? You know, not just Palestine, but what about the children of Iraq? What about the children of Afghanistan? What about the children of Pakistan? What about the children in Darfur and Yemen and all over the world? The children are suffering everywhere. And one of the things that this art brings forward is it brings forward suffering. it brings forward the idea and the pictures of what children are actually going through. And what was so riveting to me, I thought to myself, wait a minute, why are they not wanting to show this? Well, in my mind, the reason they don't want to show it, because you know the children are going to hit a nerve in us. But then I began to think a little bit deeper. I'm Jewish myself, and today I have a wonderful, wonderful woman guest with me, Theresa Mughannam-Walrath, who is a Palestinian woman. And what's interesting about our story is she was born in 1948, and I was 8 years old in 1948. So while she was being born, Israel was becoming a state, and the wars start breaking out. And here I am, here in California, being a Jewish American citizen, and we're all celebrating all about this wonderful thing called Israel. Well, as I start looking at these horrible, horrible pictures of what these children sent over, I began to think to myself, what would have happened if during World War II, the children in Nazi Germany could have sent art like this over to the United States? Perhaps it would have opened our heart, and perhaps some of the horrors that happened in those children would have stopped. Well, at that time, I could do nothing. But today, I can do something. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to set myself up here, is I am going to show the actual pictures. It's a 7-minute video. I was very blessed to meet a man over the internet by the name of Raji Cook, and he gave me absolute permission to go ahead and to show this video. And so it's a 7-minute long, and after the video, Theresa and I are going to have a discussion about the video and some of the things that she just experienced in her recent trip to Palestine. Oh, all I can say is, wow, this is amazing to me when you look at that art. And like I said during the commentary, what would have happened, how things might have been different had we seen an art show like that during World War II, when the Nazis were killing so many of the Jewish children in Germany and Poland, and I even lost family in Poland myself. So this really resonates with me. And like I said, the whole Martin Luther King quote was what really, really got me going. You know, why remain silent? Anyway, without further ado, I would like to introduce my wonderful guest, Theresa. I always pronounce her last name kind of quirky, so I'm going to let her say it for herself. And you know, Theresa was born in Jerusalem right before the partition of Palestine by the United Nations during the War of 1948, when Israel became a state. And like I said, I was 8 years old. She was just coming into the world. Theresa's family fled the horrors of war and went to Jordan to live, and then came to America with her family when she was 10.5 years old. And from what I understand, her family still possesses the keys to the house in Palestine. I mean, still that emotional tug is there. And I think I would have the same kind of emotional tug. Well, welcome to Women's Spaces, Theresa. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Elaine, for having me. This means a lot to me that you've taken an interest in this issue and are willing to do a show about it. I think it's really very important that we expose this whole thing to our community here, what happened with the children's art in Oakland. So I'm happy to be here, and none of what I wrote for you about who I am is really, I'm feeling right now that it's not even really relevant, because this is a show about what's happening to the children. Just this morning I was at a school, Summerfield Waldorf School, just doing part of my job. And I saw these children playing, you know, and I saw the flowers blooming there, and I saw these loving parents and teachers just being so present to these children. And I thought to myself about this, you know, what I'm going to be doing next today. And I thought all children should have an environment like this. They can grow, their spirits can flourish, you know, and because they become the future of our world. So it was really quite a moment for me.
Well, you know, that's why I wanted to do it, Theresa, because of course we're looking at the Palestinian children, and people need to understand that art therapy is a very healing process, particularly for young children, because they have to have a way to let out their emotions and their feelings. But as I began to watch it and as I began to understand it, I'm in agreement with you. It's all children.
That's right.
I mean, when you start thinking about, even in Sonoma County, we have so many homeless children now. I mean, it's like children are suffering on so many levels.
Yes.
But in this, for this particular area, we are talking about the Palestinian children. And I know that you were there just recently. Can you make any kind of comparison with the art that you saw on this DVD and what you actually saw when you were in Palestine?
Well, definitely. You know, when I was there in March, we were not able to go into Gaza, and I brought a little map here that I can show you where Gaza is. For I don't know if many people in our community really.
Well, go ahead.
May I show it to you? Okay, this dark green area here, that's Gaza. It's a very small area that has about 1.6 million people living there. And it was less than 2 years ago that, it was about 2 years ago that Israel went in there, the military, and as a result of that conflict, several hundred innocent civilians died, and many of them, about 700 were children. And it's just so heartbreaking. It's just so devastating to think that, for me, it feels like we are murdering the children who are the future who are our future, the future of our planet.
Well, you know, Theresa, we are murdering them. I mean, to me, it's that simple. You know, it's like we're murdering them with not having good health care. we're murdering them by having wars. We're murdering children. This is visible.
Yeah.
You know, this we can see. And as mothers and grandmothers, you know, as a grandmother, I say no more. You know, this could be my grandchild in those pictures. This could be my child as a little girl in those pictures. So my heart goes out to the young children of Palestine, to the whole world that's suffering, the young children that are suffering. And my heart goes out to you and your family for some of the suffering that you've done, that you have gone through yourself. But you know what it does for us? It's like Martin Luther King, you know, what he said, you know, we can no longer remain silent. I can't remain silent. I mean, can you remain silent?
That's why I'm here. Absolutely not. I mean, how can we forget about those innocent victims? You know, I saw this book also that was really moved me because it you know, and I actually heard Mads Gilbert, a doctor, from a European doctor, I think he was Norwegian, who was there during the conflict in Gaza, the war on Gaza, basically. And what is really sad for me is that in relation to these pictures, the photos of the children's art that we just saw, is that here they are trying to revive their spirits, you know, and, you know, with the help of so many people in the world, trying to heal these children that had to endure the traumas that they endured through art. And that there are people in our world who don't want this to be seen is, to me, unbelievable, actually.
I don't think it's that they don't want it to be seen. They're afraid to see it, because if they see it, it's like when I went to the Holocaust Memorial down at Sonoma State. When I went down there and I saw that saying by Dr. Martin Luther King, I realized I could no longer be, if I believed in him and all of his work, I could no longer be silent. And when you see the pictures of these children, you can no longer be silent. And that's what the people are afraid of. They're afraid when you see it. Like I said at the beginning, had they brought pictures over from Nazi Germany, maybe it would have opened people's heart and Roosevelt would have said, no, we're going to go in and we're going to help. So I think it's very, very important not to remain silent. And you know, the show goes by, we had so much to cover, and 27 minutes is just flies. If there's anything that you'd like to say, I mean, from your heart, you know, like for myself, I feel like I try to make this show as neutral as possible. I try to bring on as many diverse type of people as possible. And I try to stay out of it. I try not to have an opinion. But I can't escape the opinion here. This is not right. Women, children are suffering. It's got to stop. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, a communist, a socialist in another country. Women and children are suffering and it has to stop. So anything you'd like to discuss or just say, whatever is in your heart, please be my guest.
Well, clearly, you know, we can't stand by when all this is happening in our world. And for me, because I was born there and my family had to flee in 1948, as an adult, you know, I've looked at that situation and I've looked at the injustice, and I feel like I need to do something. The little that I can do, here I am living my comfortable life in the United States, but in my heart of hearts, I have never forgotten, you know, what my family had to go through, plus even worse today, what these children are going through. And therefore, I do what I can to, well, so what needs to happen? The occupation needs to end. People need to be freed. They need to have their dignity restored to them. They need to have freedom to become who they are. These children, there may be Einsteins in the, you know, inside of these little bodies that the world needs to develop, you know, so. Yeah, I'm for ending the occupation.
Well, also talking about Einstein, you know, he was lucky. He was able to escape Nazi Germany.
That's right.
You know, I mean, let's just look at reality. And another thing too is I can't forget my roots. I'm only a first-generation American. My people came from pogroms, from where people were killing them. And during World War II, we lost our whole families in the Holocaust. And then to all of a sudden see the children are suffering like this. I mean, I saw the piano, I remember, and what the children were going through. And these were Jewish children. And what I think is how, as we, as Jews, how can we allow this to happen from what has happened to us? I mean, it's very perplexing to me. And, you know, to my viewers, if anybody's out there, you know, watching, please be my guest and write me. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling. I mean, this is a real hot button. This is a real hot topic that we all need to be talking about. Well, Therese, you know, time goes by so fast when we're in this studio. And what I'd like you to do is just go ahead and look at the camera over here, and anything that's in your heart, please feel free to go ahead and just say what's in your heart.
To help other people who are suffering, who are less fortunate than we are, I can assure you that it will restore meaning and purpose in your life. I know it has for me. And so I urge you, look around and see who needs you, who is suffering in your own community, in your own neighborhood. Maybe children, immigrant children who need to learn, who needs extra support. I think it's to define our humanness. I mean, our humanness is defined to the extent that we can be aware of other people's suffering, and then we can feel with them, and then we can help them. Because we've been given so much that it's only right that we return as much as we can. And so I urge people to do that.
Well, what's so amazing to me, Therese, is that you have so much empathy and compassion after what you've been through, your family's been through, and what you have seen over in Palestine on your various trips. And I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on Women's Spaces. This is a hot button topic. I mean, I can't deny that. And I encourage people to write me. My email is at the end when I do all the credits. And I want to bring another idea forward before we end that I think is very important. And that is, when you look at this and you see the film, to try to think of it in this way. Nobody's trying to say that the Israelis are the bad people or the Palestinians are the good people or blah, 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 whatever kind of thing that goes back. Try not to look at it that way. Try not to take a side. Try focusing on children. Try having empathy. What if this was your child that was experiencing this? Try having a little compassion, you know, and a little bit more understanding. And try not to take a side. All we are is a bunch of human beings living on a planet. And we want a future. We want a future for our children. We want a future for the planet. So it's very important to start looking at these things and start asking questions. Ask our government, why are we doing this? Why are we supporting this kind of activity? You know, there's a real great saying I love: healthcare, not warfare. You know, why are we contributing so much to aggravate rather than take that same resource and put it in our own country and take care of our citizens and let these other people, let them work it out? But I really believe, I have faith that people can work things out if they're left alone. I'm going to flash a picture right here that I found very interesting. This is an American child. This is a child that was with her family at the Occupy Wall Street. And what does she say? I'm here for my future. That's an American child. How different is that child from any of the films that we saw? They're asking the same thing. One side was demonstrating what it looked like to have terror and bombs in their lives, and the other side here is saying, I am here for my future. Every child wants a future. And you know something? I think it's the responsibility of every adult to make sure that they have a good future. Anyway, this is Elaine Holtz with Women's Spaces saying, oh, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you the next time.
The woman in your life will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily. She knows everything you do because because the woman in your life is you.